I'm standing here with the presidential spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya, who'll just give us a reaction, really, from the back of what just happened here, the announcement of the results of the top 7. Sir, welcome to the SABC. We see very well that President Cyril Ramaphosa, the ANC president, has come out victorious here. Can you just give us your initial reaction? How is he feeling about this?
Well, the president is encouraged and enthused by the confidence that members of the governing party have shown in him. But more importantly, he is happy not only on behalf of the governing party, he's happy on behalf of all South Africans who are going to experience or continue to experience the benefits of the economic reforms that the president has undertaken thus far, who are going to experience an added impetus in terms of institutional reforms that have been undertaken up until now. And so all the good work and the solid foundation that the president has tirelessly spent energy working on will now be sustained and be carried forward for the benefit of not only just governing party members, but for the entire country.
What can we attribute the victory to? Was it last-minute lobbying? Maybe let us in on the strategies going into this, because there were just a lot of concerns around who might emerge here. Let us in on those strategies going into this process.
No, the guidance here is always to refer such processes to where they belong. And they belong to ordinary members of the governing party at branch level. So if you remember from the nomination period, the president had received an indication of the high levels of confidence that ordinary members of the governing party have in him. And those nomination numbers overwhelmingly said, we want you to continue with the work you've been doing. So the results today are consistent with what we saw from the nomination round.
In terms of the policies going into this process, it's a 5-year process ahead, and they're just a mix in terms of the women that are there at the helm. What does this mean? The new cohort and the policies that the president has presented, can we expect continuity where that is concerned?
No, certainly there will be continuity, but on the other hand, there's still going to be report backs coming from commissions, and that will give a sense of direction in terms of where tweaks are going to be. But largely, we can expect a great deal of continuity. The renewal agenda of the governing party will be given it additional momentum, and so are the reforms on the side of the states that I've referred to. It does augur well for transformation to have as many women in the top 7 leadership of the governing party, and that transformation agenda has always been part and parcel of the governing party's policies, and those policies have been translated into other fora with respect to the state.
What would you say then, Vincent, to someone that is sitting at home and just concerned about the makeup of the top 7? Some of those that form part of this cohort, they're compromised, like your Nomvula Mokonyane being fingered in the issues of state capture, and just some of those that are there at the top 7 that are compromised. Is the president worried about this going forward?
It's a leadership collective that is going to be aware of its duty, not only to the governing party, but to the country as a whole. Where due process needs to take place, that will happen, and that will happen without any form of interference, and that will happen without any fear or favor. So let's rather allow due process to take its course in the event or where there are concerns or issues that pertain to specific individuals and their previous conduct.
The president's standing point on issues of corruption, is it still resolute in terms of just doing away with it? We know very well that when he emerged in 2017, he was pushing this issue of corruption being dealt with and just being removed as a cancer from the African National Congress. Is that still his stance as we speak?
Well, look at his record. What has he done? He's ensured that the National Prosecuting Agency has a leadership that can operate freely without any fear of interference. Agencies such as the SIU, the Hawks, SARS have been empowered and enabled with new competent leadership, and that leadership has already shown a great deal of commitment, and they've delivered results insofar as fulfilling their mandates. And so the president remains resolute with respect to the fight against corruption, and he remains resolute with cleaning up government and, more importantly, recapacitating the state in order for government to deliver in the manner that is expected.
For those that says Palapala is still a shadow hanging over the president's head right now, and that maybe probably this is not going to be a long term for him, as the opposition or others are pushing to ensure that there's accountability where Palapala is concerned. Is he worried about that going into this new tenure?
You know, Palapala is not that complex to understand. You just have to look at three things. One, the president did not commit any crime. He did not do anything wrong. Two, the president was a victim of a crime. Three, Palapala has been championed by the president's political detractors. It's a political campaign. Four, even though I said look at three things, due process is underway. Matters are being investigated, and these matters are being investigated by very competent institutions that support our democracy. And those institutions, as I've said before, are operating freely, without any fear or favor, without any interference that's coming either from the president or any member of the executive. So those four things should give South Africans a level of comfort that this is a side issue that has no bearing on the president's ability and capacity to do the job that is expected of him.
Perception?
Perception is perception. But as I said, if we look at the facts, then we can manage perceptions. And the facts are as I've enumerated them. Due process is underway without any interference, fear or favor. It is a political campaign by the president's political detractors. The president committed no crime. If anything, he was a victim of crime.
Is he going to be dealing with those that maybe might have voted against him and those that are pushing for accountability where the issue of Palapala is concerned, the detractors, as you've mentioned?
The president is not a vindictive individual. The president has very good and professional. Has a very good professional relationship with all of his colleagues. So to say he's going to be dealing with certain individuals as an act of reprisal, that's not in the DNA of the president.
Talks of a cabinet reshuffle soon?
That's his prerogative that he can exercise at any time.
I wanted to also just find out from you, Vincent, around the issue of the litigation that was brought forward by the former president Jacob Zuma here. Have there been some sort of response? Because we saw the president's legal team writing to the former president's legal team for him to withdraw, or, that process that he had started. Has there been any joy? Has there been any response? And where to from here?
We did receive a response. It was as confusing as this whole process, or let me put it this way, it was as confused as this entire process that Mr. Zuma has decided to take. Our legal team will respond accordingly. Our position remains that action is unnecessary. The process is around violating the private prosecution principles. It's difficult to really ascertain what crime the president committed. They have not complied with the requirements of a nolle prosequi. And so if they proceed with this action and they do not withdraw their summons, the president will be left with no choice but to take the necessary actions to ensure that that summons is set aside.